Welcome to Equestrian Fitness for the Long Ride with the Sweaty Equestrian. I'm personal trainer and endurance rider Tamara Baysinger, and I'm here to help you ride stronger in a day and longer in your life. Welcome back to the podcast. It is story time again today. I'm sure you have realized that the podcast is called Equestrian Fitness for the Long Ride, and it's kind of a double meaning. The long ride part is about being able to continue to ride later into our lives for the long run, for the long ride. But also, you guys know I'm an endurance rider, and so I want to be fit and help other riders be fit for endurance riding specifically, if that is your discipline or one that you're interested in. So on occasion, when I go to my endurance riding events, it's kind of fun to share with you the story of how that ride went and my takeaways and lessons, because I know that some of you are interested in endurance. Maybe you already ride endurance or you're looking into it, and hopefully you'll be able to glean some helpful info just from my experience, my mistakes. And as you know, I'm starting a new horse this year. He's a coming 6-year-old grade gelding. I call him Cocopelli. He looks a lot like a Mustang, and a lot of people guess maybe he's got Morgan in him. So we don't know what he is, but he's a pretty chill little guy. He's maybe 14 hands on a tall day with shoes on. I'm not sure he's even that tall. So he's a little guy, but super well built. I love his mind, and he's just a kind, quirky sort of guy. So I've been really happy with him so far. And last weekend, as I record this, we went over to ride his second 50-mile endurance ride at the Midnight Rider Ride, which is based at the Mount Adams Horse Camp in Washington State. So it was quite a drive from me here in the Boise area over to sort of Western Washington. It's about, probably a 5.5-hour drive in a car, but of course more than that when you are towing horses. So we left last Thursday, and the plan was for me to drive my truck and just my bumper pull 3-horse slant with Cocopelli in it, and my hay and all my other gear and things, and my panels, which hang on the side of my trailer for containment in ride camp. And then my great friend Lainey would haul 2 horses and be riding in her truck with our friend Linda Hollingsworth Jones, who is the owner and trainer at Willow Grove Ranch located in Emmett, Idaho. She is an amazing expert at a lot of different horse disciplines. I'm just thoroughly intrigued by the carriage driving that she does. But if you're looking for a good, knowledgeable trainer in this area, look up Linda at Willow Grove Ranch. She's really, really good. I got to know her this weekend. But anyway, so they were riding in Lainey's rig, towing her LQ, and we were all just going to share sleeping quarters and the kitchen in Lainey's trailer, and I had Coco in my trailer, just so everybody had enough space for all the horses and gear. Sounds great, right? Well, we got about, 2.5 hours into our drive and pulled into a rest area just east of La Grande, Oregon. La Grande is just a little town in kind of middle of nowhere, Oregon, but it is along the freeway, and it's a good place, to fill up on fuel and things like that. But not a big town. And we were about 6 miles outside town at this rest area. And when I got out of my truck, there was Linda on the pavement looking under my trailer. I was like, uh-oh, what's up? Well, they had seen the right rear of the trailer bouncing funny. It just didn't look normal. And guess what? One of the rear leaf springs had sheared completely. And I didn't feel it, and I couldn't see it driving. In hindsight, I kind of felt something, but it just felt like a little bit of wind buffeting the trailer. It was not dramatic at all. And then something felt a little weird, a little, I don't know, squishy or floaty or something as I braked and pulled into the rest area. But that's it. It wasn't a dramatic thing, but it could become a dramatic thing. I did not know this, but I have now learned that if you have a problem with your rear leaf springs, it could have result in a sudden and catastrophic failure. So it was a potentially very dangerous situation. And I was just so fortunate that they were behind me and saw that and had the sense to get out and look. So there we are in the rest area. It's about 10:30 in the morning. And the ride is the next day. We still have about 4-ish hours to go to camp. And we're saying, what do we do now? So what we did was we shifted the hay and other load around in Lainey's trailer so that we could fit Coco, my horse, in with her horses, and she went on to ride camp while I coordinated with Mr. Sweaty over the phone to find a repair place in La Grande where I could drop off the trailer and have them work on it, and then I would pick it up on my way back through on Sunday. So we were able to find somebody, really nice people. It was at Kurt's RV Repair in La Grande, and they were super nice. They got me in as quick as they could. They would have done a same-day repair. In fact, I think they did do a same-day repair, but I couldn't have gotten out of there until late afternoon, so I decided to just drop the trailer since we'd already figured out how to get the horse and everything there. But they were super nice about squeezing me in, and they only take cash or check. It's a really small business, so there wasn't a way I could pay them ahead of time, and they had the faith to go ahead and do the repair and then let me pay them after they knew what the total was, even though I would be picking up my trailer while nobody was there and the business was closed, and for all they knew, I could just drive away with it. Of course, I didn't do that. I did pay them. But just really great people, Kurt's RV Repair in La Grande. So if you ever need them, they are there. It's easy to get to, easy to get in and out of. Anyway, so also pay attention. We had been under the trailer very recently doing work and checking on things, and we missed this. So double, triple check what's going on with your trailer. And don't assume that even though it's been looked at recently, that it's okay. I mean, just check again, because like I said, we lucked out, but this could have been really bad. So anyway, on to happier things, on to ride camp. So now I'm driving just my truck, no more trailer, and Lainey and Linda are way ahead of me now with the horses. So I'm tooling up the road, and it's a beautiful drive up to the Mount Adams horse camp where the Midnight Rider ride camp was. And you go up past some, whitewater rafting type towns where they do day trips out of there. And they're cute little touristy looking towns. And there's lots of greenery and trees and things that we don't have over here in the desert. And then you get up into camp, and it's this big meadow surrounded by trees. From where you park in the camp, you can't see Mount Adams itself, but if you take your horse for a little walk, there's a good spot where you can get pictures with your horse and the mountain in the background, and just see there's still snow up there, and it's very pretty. So we got settled into camp, and then come to find out, our neighbor, just by chance, was Kristen. She is a Sweaty Equestrian member, and she came over to introduce herself, which was so fun for me because I love meeting members in person who I have only had a chance to interact with online. And it's always so funny. We were talking about this, how because I do the workout videos and members see me all the time on the teaching videos, the talking head type videos, and on live calls and things. you guys all recognize me, but I don't necessarily recognize you because even though I have seen you online and sometimes, we post selfies and things, it's not the same as really knowing what someone looks like when they walk up to you in real life. So I just so appreciate it when you come up and say hello, whether you're a member or not. If you know who I am and I don't know who you are, well, tell me who you are and introduce yourself, because I love meeting you and learning what I can do for you. And so it was super fun to have her right next door. Let's see, the night before the ride, we went to the ride meeting and then we pretty much went to bed because the ride started at 6 a.m. So we got up at about 4. I hate to feel rushed before a ride. So I like to get up with enough time to eat something and feed the horses and maybe have an issue with tack or something. Just if something weird happens, I like to have time to deal with it without feeling super rushed. I like to be able to saddle up calmly, no big deal. Really, Coco is such a chill guy that, I saddled him while he ate hay without a halter on or anything. He was great. He didn't get all amped up. And he didn't get all amped up last time when we rode at City of Rocks either. So far, so good. Sometimes these young horses, of course, they don't know the game yet. They don't know it's a race. They don't understand what's going on. And for some of them, that makes them really nervous. For others, they just, they're not playing the game because they don't know it's a game and they don't get amped up. And maybe later on, when they do know the game, they will start getting amped up so they can go from really good as brand new baby beginners to worse and then better again. I don't know if that will happen with Coco or not. He's non-Arab. He's pretty relaxed. He's more the Mustang mindset where why would you waste energy if you don't have to? So who knows? Maybe he'll be that guy who always stays calm like this. That would be nice. But anyway, so we had a peaceful saddling up. We had extra time to walk back and forth and warm up a little bit. We did that in hand because Laney's young horse, Titan, was getting upset about the fact that his herd mate, Atlas, and yes, this is the same Atlas that I rode in Tevis the last couple of years. He was there and Linda was going to ride him. But she was going to be going faster than Coco and Titan since they're just babies. So Titan and Atlas are now separated at the start. Atlas was kind of pitching a fit, getting ready to go up toward the starting area. And Titan was a little bit amped up, not too bad. But we were hanging back and warming up a little bit away from that area. And then after the trail opened and the faster horses went, we went ahead and led them out since Titan was a little bit excited. And we got just kind of next to another horse that was a little overexcited. So just to be on the safe side, we led them out. But within half a mile, we mounted up and off we went. And they were really good. We didn't have any problems. After a while, we came upon the horses in front of us. They were stalled out at this water crossing that was kind of down in a ditch, and it was a narrow creek, but there was a log on the closer side of it. So the horses had to go down in this ditch and over the log and the creek and then up out of the ditch. So it was a little bit of a scary one for some horses. And the two horses right in front of us were not having it. They didn't want to do it. The riders ended up getting off and going across and leading them. And you're probably aware of the potential issues with that. I know these riders were aware of it. I also have done that, also being aware of the risk of having your horse say, oh my gosh, I got to get across this thing. Clearly, the only safe place that's guaranteed to stand is right there where my rider is standing. And so they jump right on top of you. If you ever do that, you've got to be aware that they're probably going to jump right at where you're standing. And it can be quite dangerous. So I try to avoid that whenever I possibly can. But that was what those other riders ended up doing. Everyone was okay. They got through it. And And then Lainey and I took our horses down there, and they just blooped right across. It was not a big deal. Titan and Coco are both just such level-headed boys that we were proud of them. They went right across. And then we carried on up the beautiful trail and around. It was about a 16-ish mile loop, and came into the hold and vetted through just fine. We had all A's on Coco except for a couple B's on gut sounds. I don't typically worry about B's on gut sounds on the first loop because they don't eat as much generally out on the first loop. They're excited, they're going. And I know that as long as they're eating well in that first hold, the gut sounds will be better by the time we leave, and probably better at the second check. They almost always are. So I didn't worry about that. We went right back to our trailer after that, fed the horses. Sure enough, they're mowing things down, eating. And I did decide that this was a good time to do a little experiment and learn something about Coco. A lot of horses, if you electrolyte them before the end of the check, like before they're done eating or before you have to make them be done and go, they will stop eating because just the icky of the electrolytes in their mouth or in their stomach. So you don't want to electrolyte them while there is still time to eat if they're that kind of horse. But they're not all that way. Some of them will continue to eat after being electrolyted. So I saw Coco eat for a while. It was still cool. I knew there was lots of grass out on the trail. I also knew that he would be calm enough to stop and eat the grass. It wasn't just there. We would actually be consuming it. And he had taken a big drink. So I thought, okay, this is a good time to find out whether he's a horse who will eat after being electrolyted or not. So I mixed up his electrolyte powder in some apple juice and syringed him with it because he won't eat it in his mash. He will at home, but he won't at a ride, at least so far. So I syringed him with that and then rinsed his mouth and let him go again. I gave him a treat or two, like horse cookies, because he loves those, to kind of get him in the thinking about eating mode again. And he did continue to eat. So far, so good. Maybe he's going to be one that I can electrolyte mid-hold and he'll still continue to eat. So good to know. I'm just filing that away. Let's see. Out on the second loop, it started... the second loop wasn't anyone's favorite. Now, let me back up and say this was a first-year ride manager. It's not a new ride, but the ride manager was new. So she had tons and tons on her plate. It's a huge learning curve. It is a massive lift. And she was awesome about being really open to saying, hey, we're probably going to make some mistakes here. I know there are things that we could do better. Can you kindly let us know what would be helpful? And, one of the chief complaints about the ride was that there was quite a long stretch of road, and it was that hard-packed gravel road that you find out west in these mountains. And I know that she knew that, but being her first year, finding enough trail to get off those roads was a lot. I know they did some where they found places we could get off onto dirt trails instead of being on the road. But this one stretch was pretty long. It was like 9 miles or something on this road. And there wasn't quite enough water out there. There were a couple spots where it would have been good to have more water. And they did change that for the next day's ride. So there you go. Just being responsive to where riders say, hey, this is a little issue. And they were right on it. So that was great. Kudos to them for that. So we went up this road and the horses did not love the road. The riders did not love the road. It was just long and it was uphill. It's quite a haul and on the hard ground and all that. But so we were really glad to get off that and back onto the dirt. And then the second half of that loop, as we sort of wound our way back down toward ride camp, mostly on single track dirt trails through the woods, it was just beautiful and peaceful. And it was cool in under the trees. I mean, not cool. It was probably, 70 degrees, maybe warmer than that by then. But it was in the shade. Almost all of it was in the shade. So it was really, really pleasant coming back down into camp for our second hold. And at this point, we were on pace to finish faster than our very slow time. I think we had maybe a 9.5 hour ride time at City of Rocks. We were going to go for a little bit faster this time, and we were on pace for that. And sure enough, at the vet hold, gut sounds were all A's. Everything else was A's. We handled the second hold just the same as the first, including the electrolyting midway through. And again, it was not a problem for Coco. So good. Liking that so far. And then we went out on the third loop, which due to some trail sabotage that management couldn't obviously control. They had tried the day before. They'd already fixed the whole trail once, and then it was down again. And so they ended up not having us do the first loop the original first loop. We ended up not doing that. We had to do the purple loop. It was going to be just the third, but it ended up being the first loop and the third loop. All that to say, for our third loop on the actual ride, we were riding the same trail, following the same ribbons that we had done for the first of the 3 loops. So we'd been there before, and we're going along. The horses have lost a certain amount of enthusiasm by now. And this is where Coco Pelle's good side, his chilled out side, is also his weakness. Because again, if he's a Mustang or whatever he is, just that mindset of, why should I burn more energy than I have to? When he starts to feel, a little tired, why should I be doing this? He kind of gets in slow down mode, stop brain instead of go brain. So the good side of that, he's not too excited and uncontrollable at the start. The downside is I have to push him a little later in the ride. So we were getting to that phase where he was getting a little bit tired. He was fine, but he was a little not so into it anymore. But we were keeping on pace, and somewhere along the line, Lainey's phone rang. She'd forgotten to put it in airplane mode, and her phone rang. Turns out that Linda had gone missing. Linda and Atlas were missing. Well, of course, we didn't know where they were. We were out on trail. But, maybe they took a wrong trail or whatever. Nothing we can do about it right now. If they're not found by the time we get back into camp at the end of this loop, well, we'll deal with it then. But not 5 minutes later, guess who we ran into? We came up to a water crossing, and there's Linda and Atlas standing in the water. And Atlas looked great. Linda looked a little tired because they had gotten off trail and they had done some extra mileage out there, wandering around, finding their way back to the trail. And there they were. They were back on trail now, but way back with us where they had been pretty far toward the front. I'm not exactly sure where, but so they rode the rest of the way in with us. And that got a little complicated toward the end because I was starting to notice that Coco was feeling not 100%. Like he was feeling a little bit footsore, and I thought, is he off on his right front? Is he off on his right front? Maybe he's a little off on his right front. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. It was pretty subtle, but it was absolutely time to slow down, definitely not do any trotting downhill or on hard ground, because this is where we're saying, okay, who cares about the time? We have plenty of time to finish. Our completion time is no big deal. We were hoping to finish faster than last time, sure, but I would rather complete with a sound horse than try to make a certain time, a certain self-imposed time cutoff and not complete because I've made my horse lame. So we slowed down. We walked all the downhills. We walked anything that was rocky. And Atlas was not thrilled about this because Atlas is a fast horse. He's a much more experienced horse. And he was pretty impatient about that pace. But they were wanting, his rider was wanting to stay with us. And also Titan would have pitched a major fit, I think, if Atlas had taken off and left us. So we decided to all stay together, but Atlas was working up and getting really impatient. And at one point, I got a little ahead of the others. I can't remember why, but I got a little ahead of them on Coco. And for some reason, Atlas just blew a gasket. He had just had it, and he pitched a major fit. Good thing Linda's a very, very good rider because I didn't see it because I was out ahead. I heard about it, and I would have gotten off, but she stuck it. She stuck on there. Good for her. And so they dealt with that on their way in, not knowing that that was what they were dealing with. I thought they were just trading bridles or something because they'd been talking about that, trading the bit for the hackamore or whatever. I thought that was why they fell behind. So I kept going thinking, well, hey, this is a good time for me to work on Coco being willing to leave the group. Perfect opportunity. So I was doing that, and then they weren't catching up, and we weren't going that fast. I mean, we trotted some on the good ground that was slightly uphill, and he felt sound there. But we really were not going very fast, and they weren't catching up. So I walked and kind of waited a little bit. And finally, I looked back when we were on a long straight stretch, and I could see both of them back there, both mounted. Everybody's alive. Everyone's okay. So I thought, okay, they're fine. And I'm pretty sure they're going to understand what I'm doing because Lainey and I have been bringing our horses up together. We know what each other's issues are. So I figured she would know what I was up to. So I carried on with Coco and broke through that resistance to leave the others and got him going willingly and happily forward on his own. And then when we got really close to camp, I knew they were still way back there. And I also knew that Coco was, pretty tired and had the potential to stiffen up if we stood around for a while waiting to vet. But I also knew that I didn't want to have him down there trying to vet just when Atlas and Titan were coming in and hollering and getting him upset. So given those constraints, I thought, okay, I'm about, a little more than a quarter mile from camp. I'm going to hang out here and mosey along and let Coco eat grass, get those gut sounds up, and keep him moving a little bit and not get in too much ahead of them. And that worked. I ended up getting into camp and just getting my tack pulled at the trailer as they came in. So we only had to wait a couple minutes for them to pull their tack, and then we could go down and complete and vet together. And when Lainey trotted Titan out, he was slightly off on his left rear. And when I trotted Coco out, he was slightly and intermittently, thank God it was intermittent, off on that right front. So I had been feeling something there like I thought, but it was intermittent. And so he was okay to complete. But I was glad it was our last loop because I would not have gone on with him being a little sore there. He's fine. I can't find anything wrong with him. He's trotting sound now. I think it was just, we went up that hard packed road. That's a lot of concussion. Plus he's just new at this. He's still getting hardened up to it. So he was done for the day, but we were done for the day. So we completed. Titan, though, was the question mark. Ugh. And so you have an hour after finishing to complete with the vet. So we were able to take him back and ice him and keep him loose. And then Lainey took him back and re-trotted for the vet. And he was not 1,000%, but he was good enough to complete. So, everybody got their completion. We ended up with Coco in 9th, Titan in 10th, and then Linda wanted to get the Turtle Award, so she took 11th on Atlas, but it turned out there was another horse behind us that we didn't know about, so she didn't actually get the Turtle, but that's okay. And by the way, it is really interesting. We were shocked to find out that having come in with about a 9.5-ish hour ride time, I haven't actually done the math, but it was something like that. We were still top 10, just barely, but we were still top 10. And it's just a reminder that endurance is really a game of attrition. You don't know if you feel like you're going slow or you feel like you're not doing all that well for whatever reason. Don't give up. You may very well be fine. You may be higher in placing, if you care, than you thought you were, because you don't know what's going on out ahead of you. A lot of horses had to have pulled ahead of us. I'm not sure how many. I haven't seen the results yet, in order for us to end up in 9th place, going that slowly. But hey, it happened. It was fun. And as a top 10 award, we got this cute little Mongolian pony made of wool in Mongolia, by some of the impoverished people there. And it's a fundraiser that helps provide medical assistance and schooling and so forth to this community. There's more to it than that, but it's a super cool program. So I was happy to be able to bring home my little bay woolen cocoa horse. And then another treat that night in camp, a new neighbor pulled in next to us who was going to ride the next day, and it was Terry. It was another Sweaty Equestrian member, and it was a total surprise. She didn't know it was us that she was parking next to, but there she was. So it was fun to see her there, and she actually did her stable in the saddle workout right there in her horse trailer. I saw her doing it, so go Terry. That was super cool to see. Now, normally, I definitely don't work out when I am in ride camp, and I know most of the members don't either. You certainly don't need to do that, but we happen to have a challenge going on right now. It's the Stable in the Saddle Challenge, and it's a time-limited challenge, so you have these workouts to complete over a 6-week period, all focused on your symmetry and balance as a rider. So she was wanting to finish the challenge on time, and that's why she was putting in the extra effort to work out in ride camp. I do not worry about skipping a few workouts normally to go to a ride, and I'll even eat some junk food at a ride. In next week's podcast, I'm going to be talking about why I don't worry about doing that, why even though I am the fitness person, I don't worry about missing some workouts here and there. And I don't worry about the occasional exception to my overall good nutrition. But I know that some do, and some feel real repercussions if they make those exceptions. Well, why is it that some people can get away with that and other people can't seem to get away with that? We're going to talk about why that is and what you could do to become one of those people who can get away with it if you aren't already. So anyway, Saturday, we just hung out in camp. We took the horses for a short ride to loosen them up. They were feeling fine. Nobody was lame. And this was a unique ride. It's called Midnight Rider because they schedule the Saturday 50 and even the Saturday limited distance ride, the 25-mile ride, so that you start late enough in the day that you're riding past sundown into the night. And it's a really good way to get a taste of riding in the dark that you would normally only get during a 100. There was also a 100-mile ride going on. Of course, they started in the morning because they have 24 hours to do the 100 miles. And there were still riders out there on the 100 and even the 50 because it started so late when I went to bed Saturday night. And then on Sunday, we packed everything up. We were out of ride camp by 7:30 on our way back to LaGrange to pick up my newly repaired trailer. And yep, sure enough, shiny new leaf springs under there. So that was great. And we popped Coco back into my trailer and headed on home. If you want to see photos from the ride, I've posted some on the Sweaty Equestrian Facebook page. So if you're following that Facebook page, you'll see photos from the ride there. Linda is a good photographer. She took some shots of us out there, just with an iPhone, not with a fancy camera or anything. But it's always fun to get some photos from someone who has a good eye for photography. I am really terrible about taking pictures out on the trail, but I've shared some that Linda took while she was out there on the same trail. So just replace the gray Atlas ears in your imagination with bay Cocopelli ears, and there you go. That's what it looked like out there. So go see those on the Sweaty Equestrian Facebook page. Next week on the podcast, we will be back to our usual conversation about fitness for riding our best and preparing our bodies so that we can keep riding into our later decades. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. Subscribe to the podcast so that you can keep building the knowledge you need to ride stronger in a day and longer in your life. Want to get more sweaty? Subscribe to my newsletter at thesweatyequestrian.com/newsletter. And remember, you have what it takes to be a full athletic partner for your horse. Saddle up strong.